Welcome back to Anatomy and Physiology. This is Chapter 5, the Integumentary System, video number 2. So in this video, we're going to give an overview of the skin. The skin is one of the major parts of the integumentary system. And your skin, some people say 2 layers, some people include the fat layer as part of the skin. We'll just say that it is 3 layers. So those 3 layers are the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. And the hypodermis, if you remember, hypo means under. It's also sometimes called the subcutaneous layer. So sub is another word that means under. Cutaneous refers to skin. So it's the layer under the skin. And some people say that this isn't part of the skin. It's kind of either or. So the epidermis on top of the dermis, this is epithelial tissue. So we know that epithelial tissue really doesn't have any blood vessels. It's mainly cells, and we end up with this one being for mainly protection. If you remember, it was stratified squamous epithelial tissue. The dermis is connective tissue, if you recall. So connective tissue, not a lot of cells, a lot of ECM. It is thicker. And if any of you have ever tanned leather, so you've taken an animal hide and you've made leather out of it. This is an ancient process. It has been going on for thousands and thousands upon thousands of years, clear back to cave people. And this is the layer that forms leather, the dermis. So one of the things that you have to do to the animal hide is scrape off the epidermal layer, which includes the hair. And you get down to the dermis. And since it's connective tissue, it's a lot stronger and thicker than the epidermis, and this is the layer that we want for leather, and then we treat it with chemicals to preserve it, and it's fairly tough. So this is leather. Now technically you could make leather out of human skin, and in the past this has happened, unfortunately. The Nazis would do this with some concentration camp victims. It's a horrible, horrible thing. But I have actually, in a museum, seen books bound with human skin and lampshades made from human skin. If you ever get a chance to go to the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, they have some examples of this. You can tell that it's human skin. And this is going to provide a lot of the strength of the skin, because if you remember, it's made out of dense, irregular connective tissue. Hypodermis is also connective tissue, and mainly it's adipose tissue, so loose adipose connective tissue. And it is for insulation, and it is for connection to underlying muscles. So in addition to adipose, we can also have a little bit of areolar tissue to help make that loose connection, but it is not a solid connection like we would have with desmosomes or semidesmosomes. The other way that we can differentiate skin is we can divide it into 2 categories, thick skin and thin skin. And it is the ability or lack of ability to grow hair. So thick skin does not have the ability to grow hair. So we're talking about the palms of the hand, the soles of the feet, and the palmar surface of fingers and toes. And these are areas that are for grip. So hair doesn't grow on these surfaces because it helps us grip things. And the skin there is usually a little bit thicker to help with that grip. Thin skin can grow hair, so it's basically anywhere else on your body. But it's the ability. So even though we do not have hair growing on certain areas, the potential is there. And some people do have hair over most of their body. It's very unlikely that you have certain types of hair growing like on your forehead surface, but if you look really closely, you can see very little tiny, almost invisible hairs on the surface of some people.